Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner. Welcome if you are new to my channel. Glad to have you here. So, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the final movie for the Paranormal Activity franchise that I've been reviewing throughout the month of November here. And that final movie, it's the first movie that's not part of the 6 movie pack on Blu ray that I have collection. It's actually on its own DVD here, not even Blu ray. But that movie is Paranormal Activity Next of Kin from 2021. So yeah, like most of these movies, first time watch for me, with the exception of the original. So let's just get into Next of Kin here from 2021. So Paranormal Activity Next of Kin is a 2021 American found footage supernatural horror film directed by William Eubank, written by Christopher Landon, and produced by Jason Blum and series creator Oren Peli. Serving as the 7th installment of the Paranormal Activity series, the film stars Emily Bader, Roland Buck III, Dan Lippert, Henry Ayers Brown, and Tom Nowicki, and follows a group who attempt to make a documentary on an Amish community, only for them to discover the horrific secrets the town holds. So yeah, that's the premise. So Margot and her cameraman friend Chris want to make a documentary about Margot's past. Her mother, Sarah, abandoned her outside a hospital, and she wonders what drove Sarah to make such a decision. Through a genetic site, she and Chris met her blood relative Samuel, who is an Amish currently going through his Rumspringa. The team is joined by Dale, their documentary soundman. Samuel leads them to the Beerler farm, where he and Margot's mother came from. Jacob, the patriarch of the commune, and Sarah's father, and Margot's grandfather, welcomes the team, and they find lodging. Strange events occur. Margot finds a little girl brushing her doll's hair in the barn. The doll is named Sarah, and the girl cryptically says that Sarah is still there. Margot later hears sounds from her mother's old room and sees a spirit. The group interviews Jacob. He tells them about the free-spirited Sarah, who defied their practices by sleeping with a boy and getting pregnant. Instead of being forced to give up Margot to an adoptive family, she instead left her at a hospital. Sarah is now assumed dead. Margot's team finds a church that Jacob prevents them from entering. That night, the team discovers a strange ritual in the barn in which a newborn two-headed goat is sacrificed. So that's the setup, the premise for Paranormal Activity Next of Kin from 2021. As far as the cast goes, we have Emily Bader as Margot, Roland Buck III as Chris, Dan Lippert as Dale, Henry Ayers Brown as Samuel Beeler, and Tom Nowicki as Jacob Beeler. So that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 2021 Paranormal Activity movie, Next of Kin. I enjoyed this movie for the most part. It's definitely different than the other movies in this series. It's a standalone movie basically. We're still using some of the same template of the Paranormal Activity movies, but very much being its own thing. So let's just go ahead and get into it, starting with that point, and the other pros are the things that I liked. So I really liked the standalone nature of this movie. It's not connected to the other 6 movies. There's no mention of Toby in this movie, which, quite frankly, were a little played out by the time they got to the 6th one, the Ghost Dimension, as you probably heard in my review. So I was glad that this was sort of a standalone movie, kind of its own thing. But it still works within the Paranormal Activity universe. You know, you still got a family angle, you still got a demonic presence angle, and you still got the found footage angle, which works to varying degrees here. They were right to do what they did here and have this be sort of a separate, well, let's take the Paranormal Activity idea, but let's go over here somewhere else than where we've gone the first 6 movies. At least 5 of the first 6 for sure. So that's the first thing that stood out that I really liked. I really love the setting of this movie. The outdoorsy kind of away from cities or civilization. Visiting this Amish community out in the middle of nowhere. This whole idea it gives it a very isolating and effective atmosphere for this movie that we didn't get in the other movies. And I also love certain scenes kind of piggybacking on that, where characters are walking outside at night and you got this, it's snowing pretty good and you got snow coming into the camera. That's just something that really works for me because you know something's gonna pop out or they're gonna see something creepy, and I just really enjoy that aesthetic there. And there's also like a pit or a cave that's involved that they discover in a church, where they're either being lowered or brought up from, and that has a very claustrophobic and isolated feel to it as well. So yeah, this movie really adds a lot of new things that this series hasn't seen before, especially setting related and just atmosphere related. So I really like those things. It just offers a lot of new and different aesthetics than we've had before. I thought the family dynamic here was interesting and more modern, with our main character trying to reconnect to her mom and her family with this online um, genetic site that's out there, I guess. I just thought that was a good setup and a good way to get us into the story here. That was somewhat believable, especially given the fact that this does take place in 2021. I thought the music and the sound design was really effective throughout this movie. The acting is good. I think it's one of the better acted Paranormal Activity movies. I found the characters, especially Margot, the main character, fairly likable, sympathetic, understandable. Um, I was rooting for them, especially her, our main character, who really she's really started out with the best of intentions. Um, Awesome cinematography here. Some of the landscape shots and some of the camera angles and the things they do. Well, it doesn't completely work considering this is a found footage movie and we get landscape shots, not from somebody holding a camera, but hey, we'll just go with it. In this franchise, you kind of have to. But the very good cinematography, modern camera techniques, and I don't know. I just found the camera work to be quite well, to be quite good, I should say, very well. No, quite good. Let's stick with that. So yeah, I had one other positive. Let's talk about the end of this movie a little bit. Like the other movies, it sort of ratchets up at the end, the last 15-20 minutes when things are revealed and it might be too late kind of thing. And it's pretty intense. I don't think it's quite as intense as some of the other ones. Quite as effective maybe, but it's still good. I mean, the end of the movie still works for me. And this is a standalone movie, so you're not really left with a lot of questions or unanswered questions or things. So I like that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I thought I had something else here. Let me see. Um, I don't know. I just think that the whole way the story unfolds is pretty well done. It's a well written story, I think, especially compared to some of the other Paranormal Activity movies before. It's kind of an unfolding story where we have some twists and turns, and it kind of it's well paced. I think it kind of takes its time, but it's not. But it's not. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I don't know. It's just kind of an enjoyable idea and story here that's executed pretty well for the most part. So those are my pros for Next of Kin. As far as cons go, well, there's definitely some creepy moments, like I was talking about, those outside shots with the snow coming down. I don't think this movie's quite as scary or creepy as some of the previous movies. It's more of a jump scary, visual imagery kind of scary movie, which for me, that means it's not as scary of a movie. But yeah, there's just nothing overly creepy or scary here. I guess the idea kind of is. But from a visceral standpoint, from an on-screen standpoint, I think some of the previous movies were a little bit more effective in that regard, at least for me. There is some bad CGI used here, just like the last movie, The Ghost Dimension, specifically relating to the skeleton-type creature that we see near the end of the movie. It's pretty obvious and unflattering, frankly. The CGI we see, especially as it relates to a certain to a kill of one of the characters in this movie. So I really didn't care for that. I will say, as much as I liked the characters and could relate to them, especially the main character, I would have liked a little bit more backstory with our characters. It didn't feel like we knew them overly well. I think that might have added a little bit more towards the end, but it still worked well enough just because of the writing and the performances. I will say there is some pretty out there exposition dumps throughout the movie to inform the viewers, basically, that were a little hard to get behind, like stumbling on to the, for whatever reason, going in, basically breaking into the leader's room of this Amish community, and just randomly going on their computer, or at this battery shop, a couple of the characters just asking him if he could use the internet on his computer, logging in online on computers and devices that aren't theirs. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. It's like they had to quickly do that before it got to the last third, and so that the exposition was given before we got to the big finale there. But there's also some camera shots, as I said, that don't completely work if you're going to be a found footage movie, where it's clearly a regular camera and not somebody holding a camera. And even the whole thing with, I understand they're making a documentary, so it makes sense that somebody's going to be holding a camera. But again, the problem I continue to have with these found footage movies is, why are you still running around with the camera when you literally, there's a character that sees another character that's rather close to him get murdered right in front of them, and you're still running around with the camera? It's just, you just got to go with it. What can I say? I guess the comeback would be that they're trying to capture this on film because nobody will believe them otherwise. I guess if you want to go with that, but I don't know that it holds that much water for me. But anyway, those are pretty much my cons. I found this to be a fairly enjoyable... Oh, I remember what some of my other cons were before I say I found it to be an enjoyable movie. We have seen this kind of movie before in things like Midsommar and even The Wicker Man and lots of other sort of movies like this. You could take from a kind of the cultish sort of, there's something sinister going on with a group of people that we don't of course we don't find out until the end of the movie. There's a little bit of predictability here that maybe some of the other paranormal movies didn't have. And it does feel a little bit standard, a little bit generic because of that, having seen this before. So I guess that's really my last con. But overall, guys, I did find this to be from a technical standpoint, this was a well-made movie, I thought, for this franchise, and a well-needed and nice breath of fresh air to this franchise. Like I said, very standalone, very different and aside from the rest of the franchise. But I enjoyed it for the most part, and I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for Paranormal Activity Next of Kin from 2021. So yeah. With that being said, go ahead and put down below in the comments if you guys have seen this movie, what you think of it. Do you like it? Do you not? I'd be interested in hearing. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos for this series, which is only one, my ranking video as well as my franchise wrap-up video, which will be dropping in a couple of days here before the end of November. But you also don't want to miss my upcoming horror content, especially next year. I've already got so much stuff for you guys. And I'll also let you know about December, probably next week after Thanksgiving weekend. But with all that being said, I hope you guys are enjoying this review series for the Paranormal Activity franchise. Hope you're doing well. And as always, stay scared. Bye.